Life can be crazy, life can be hard. See this life through a baby, and maybe you see God. How many times my flesh died, but it rose again. Lord, I'm bobbing with these rhymes, and I'm weaving with this sin, but I'ma make it. Yeah, we gon' make it, y'all, and I'ma make it. Yeah, we gon' make it, y'all, and I'ma make it. Yeah, we gon' make it, y'all. Let's ride our faith in Him a new day. Damn, it feels good to close this door in my life. Another chapter, turn the page. I'm breaking up out this cage. Damn, it feels good to close this door in my life.
What's happening, y'all? Welcome to Riding with Red. It's your boy Red. Today, I think what we're gonna do, I know what we're gonna do, is I'm gonna take you on a little bit of a journey of a piece of my life. It's a big piece of my life. It's actually been a big piece of my life for 10 years now. I'm a big supporter of Detroit City FC, Detroit's professional soccer club, and I'm a supporter. I'm not just a fan, right? I'm not somebody who just goes to games and goes rah 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 rah, right? Like, I actually, along with a lot of other brothers and sisters, actually support this club by building a lot of things around it and supporting a lot of things around it and helping build connections with the club and, just supplementing the growth of this club. And I'll share with you more why about that later, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and just get ready because today, Detroit City FC is facing off against the defending USL Championship champions, Phoenix Rising, at Keyworth Stadium at 5 o'clock. And so I'm going to take you along for a ride, so come riding with Red. All right? Do this. God. Yeah, so the match, so it's about 2:30. The match starts at 5, just before 2:30 right now, actually. And I like to hit the road typically about. I like to get into town. So Detroit City plays at Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck. For those of you who don't know, Hamtramck is like an enclave that's in Detroit. It's its own city, but it is surrounded completely by Detroit, kind of like Highland Park. And there's this little gem, Keyworth Stadium, and a lot of the supporters, myself included, were a part of helping to revitalize the stadium. It was a 1936 federal works project from during FDR's time. And when Detroit City SC started off as an amateur side back in 2012, it actually started off in 2010 with the Detroit City Football League, which is an adult recreational soccer club, or adult recreational soccer league, where different neighborhoods in the city of Detroit were represented. And the point of that was to provide, it's a creative community organizing effort, if you will. And it was meant to connect neighborhoods and neighbors in the city to see what happens of it. And 2 years after that was created, that kind of created the foundations for the people to come together. Some of them already knew one another, but 5 guys came together and created the Detroit City Football Club as an amateur side. And the amateur side in American soccer is kind of like the 4th division of soccer in America. And then the top 3 divisions, 3, 2, and 1, are all professional divisions. And, there's supposed to be different levels, but the way that soccer works in America is I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but it's at the end of the day, it's that, but also the league that occupies that division, they need to want you, right? So when you get up into like Division 1 with Major League Soccer, it's not like the best teams at Division 1. You've got, they certainly got more talent, and I'm not saying the individual players are necessarily more talented, but they have deeper rosters and more resources, right? They've got millions upon millions of dollars. The gap between the budget between those teams and those leagues in MLS is very different from United Soccer League Championship or USL Championship, which is Division 2 soccer. Anyway, I ain't gonna bore you with all that, but I'm gonna go ahead and let's see what we're gonna do here. We'll put a little bit of cologne on. I don't want to put too much cologne on because one who I care about smelling my cologne ain't gonna be at the game with me today, so, but I still like to smell good, you know? Still gotta make them thirsty, even if it's not from this cup. Damn, I look good. All right, well, we heading out the door a little bit later than I was expecting to get out. Probably won't get down there by 3. I started to say this earlier, that I like to get into town usually about 2 hours before the match. And I go to a little pre-match spot, little pub, and have usually about 2 beers, and then I go to the stadium after that. But yeah, as you can see, it's not exactly the most beautiful day outside, but we will make do, as we always do, with Detroit City FC, and we still show up. From what I saw earlier, the rain at least is supposed to subside by match time, so we'll get down there to Hamtramck. I'm traveling in there from Madison Heights, and we'll go to my usual pre-match spot, and usually about an hour, 45 minutes before kickoff, then I walk to the match. And you'll see when you walk to the match, we walk through the neighborhood, and all of a sudden there's this stadium that pops up out of nowhere, tucked in the corner of the neighborhood, and on the other side of that's the train track. So it's pretty dope. So I'll share that with you. So let's roll. Let's go riding with Ray. Yeah, so my ride in from my crib down to where I go for the match, it's about 20 minutes, which is kind of funny because, you know, there's often a joke in Metro Detroit that everything is only 20 minutes away. And it's literally 20 minutes away right now. So it's only 13 miles from here. But, so not a bad ride at all. And yeah, so, you know, the thing about this as being something that's been a labor of love for me is, you know, I am originally from the west side of Detroit, 7 Mile and Telegraph, and I born and grew up there basically to about 5th grade. Detroit has always been home for many years in my heart, even when I moved out of Detroit. I moved out of Detroit and kind of moved along different rural and suburban outskirts of Detroit and Flint, and then I went up to college at Central Michigan University, and I even made my way all the way down to Durham, North Carolina, and then came back home to Detroit, and then a few years ago moved out of Detroit and now settled in Madison Heights. Just some life transitions that I'll probably share with you at some point in time in a later episode. But yeah, when I was down in North Carolina, I was missing home. I was missing Detroit, and I was just on the internet, and I was just checking in on Detroit, you know, just researching some stuff. And I was also, for some reason, I just was looking up Detroit soccer. I was just curious, or I want to say that I was looking it up, or I came across it or something like that, and heard about Detroit City FC. And, you know, at least everything that I was reading in the paper or online, you know, it spoke to my heart, because one, I have a love for Detroit. I also have a love for community, like serving in the community. And I'm not talking about serving like going and packaging meals for Thanksgiving. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not like dogging that or nothing like that, but I'm talking about just living a life of service for a few different reasons, because of my faith and as a brother of Phi Beta Sigma. You know, that's just something that's an integral part of me, and you know, working together with people to help alleviate their burden is just something that's in my blood for whatever reason. So, and the club is really tailored toward that. You know, Detroit City FC is a club that was built for the purpose of being an asset to the city of Detroit and the broader metropolitan region, and not doing what you see a lot of these like MLS franchises and stuff like that do, where it's not to say that they don't serve the community, but they siphon a lot of money from the cities that they so-called represent, you know what I mean? And they take millions and millions of dollars in taxpayer funding to build their stadiums. I mean, no different than the NFL and the NBA and the MLB and the NHL and all that. You get at that level, and they're just tapping into resources that other people are putting in a pot, through their tax money, and building stadiums, and then charge people an arm and a leg to even go to those sporting events. And that's very different with Detroit City FC. The club, one of the core values of the club is basically not to price people out of their leisure, to be an asset to the city of Detroit. They do a lot of pouring resources, not only pouring resources into the city, but it's not like they're pouring resources into the city from outside of it, because the club emerged from within the city, right? People came together, the owners and the supporters came along and helped amplify the footprint of the club and whatnot. And certainly there's a huge contingent, probably the majority of the contingent of folks who support the club are suburbanites, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just there's probably a few different reasons for why that is. I think culturally, more than anything, is that as somebody from the city of Detroit, generally speaking, Detroit, which is quintessentially a black city, it's not necessarily something that is a sport that is very popular within the African American community. Now, when you go into the broader African diaspora, certainly that's a little bit different. But in Detroit, you get into certain pockets like Southwest Detroit with the large Latinx population, and Hamtramck that has a lot of Eastern European and Mediterranean and Middle Eastern population where soccer or football is more popular. So outside of that, it's really not popular in the city, and so that's, again, like I think it's more of a cultural thing. But anyway, the club is doing a lot to actually increase that participation and whatnot. And I fell in love with the club. When I was reading about it online, and then I came to a match. I think my first match was like in 2015. I was a little bit hesitant because I thought, is this going to be like a Tigers opening day, like extended opening day, where you have a bunch of largely white suburbanites going to opening day and kind of dumping on the city in ways. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the majority of people who go to opening day are like that, but that's certainly something that I've observed going to opening day. And I was worried that this rowdy bunch that was supporting this club were similar. And as I got closer and closer, not only was that bunch genuine, but also, and more importantly to me, the ownership and the founders of the club were either from the city of Detroit largely, or made Detroit their home, and a couple of them from the metropolitan Detroit area. But it just seemed like the club was intricately tied to the city of Detroit, which is part of what I love. So and soccer was always a big part of my life, especially I was sharing with you when I moved out of Detroit, and during that time, my mother had gotten a divorce, and my father, when I was in middle school, had taken his own life, and then I got this new stepfather as well, and a lot of transitions going on. But my new stepfather introduced me to the game of soccer, and it really, they say idle hands are the devil's playground. Well, I was a little bit disconnected from my environment when I was moving out of Detroit. Didn't often feel welcomed, and was treated like I wasn't welcomed in some spaces, and so I was kind of acting out, and soccer was one of those things. That, along with my music that we'll talk about. I've been rapping and writing, songwriting for many years, were two of the outlets that I had that probably kept me out of jail, to be honest with you. Well, that, and when I was actually a little hoodlum committing crimes, I never got caught. So, I'm kind of slick like that. But don't do crimes. Don't do crimes is bad. But, so yeah, that was the kind of just trifecta: the love for Detroit, the love for building community and serving community, and the love for soccer. And the closer I got to the club, the more genuine I noticed that it was, and I wanted to be a part of that. And here we are, 10 years later, I'm still supporting the club, and Even created a podcast that about just over five and a half years ago that I actually just stepped away from. Got some brothers that I recruited to be a part of that show and that have been able to enhance that show. It's called the 451 Podcast. You should check it out. I recently decided to step away from it because I don't like to build things that require my presence to exist when it's done out of a genuine love for something. And that was about building community and in my own little way showing people the love of Christ, really. So all right, well, I'm gonna head into Hamtramck here and I'll show you a little bit.
Let's turn around. You enter through those gates, you face your fate now. Come take your shot. Many come, but they don't leave. They cleave to what we got. City till I die. Say hi to the bad guy. It's a pity that your city's too itty bitty to fly, but we clipping the wings even if they don't flap. Take it back to 2010 and you'll see where.
All right, y'all. Well, we just arrived to my destination. There's this parking lot actually that's over off of St. Joe's. Not St. Joe's. What am I talking about? Joe Campow. In Hamtramck, and there's this international food market where you could park in that lot there, and it's probably about 3 or 4 blocks from the stadium, and we're actually going to be walking over there. If you can see that little green, there we go. You can see that little green building over there. That's actually the Painted Lady. That's a spot that I usually go to and have a beer before the match. And, sometimes some folks that I know will be there. Well, usually there's always folks that I know that will be there, but maybe folks that, I fellowship with more than others, you know what I mean? So I usually go there and hang out for a bit and then head to the stadium. If it's nice out, like today is not nice out, although, like I said, I think the rain should subside by 4 o'clock and the match is at 5. But if it's nice out, sometimes I'll go to the stadium earlier. Usually the gates are open an hour and a half before match, so the gates should be open by 3:30 today. I'll go over and at least have a beer at the Painted Lady. So let's roll. All right, y'all, we're about to walk over here to the Painted Lady. Like I said, rain's coming down a little bit. I think it's probably probably about the mid-50s right now. It ain't that bad, to be honest with you. I mean, we've had much worse days, but here's actually the Painted Lady right behind me. As you can see, it's kind of like a little neighborhood pub that is right in the middle of a neighborhood right here. This used to be I think back in the day was a kind of more of a German enclave for German immigrants, and it became Polish enclave. Now it's more we still have a Polish contingent here, if you will. I don't know if I'm gonna call it contingent. In a lot of different communities from the Middle East, including the Yemenis. We've got a large Bengali community here as well. But let's go ahead and go into the Painted Lady. All right, y'all, we're heading down the street. I don't even know what street is this again, Alan? It's that one street by the street that's by the stadium. Heading into the stadium. As you can see around me, it's just a nice little neighborhood here in Hamtramck, Michigan. Like I said, an enclave of Detroit, completely surrounded by the city of Detroit. And what you're gonna see here in a bit is we're gonna walk around the corner and all of a sudden the stadium's just gonna pop up out of the middle of nowhere. And that's one of the beauties of the stadium. It was this community here, this neighborhood, as well as this community, was largely built around the factories. What's the factory over here?
Definitely auto.
Yeah, I mean, it's an auto factory. There's something about 2 Guinness and a shot of Tullamore whiskey that makes me forget things. So excuse me as I try to remember things. But so this is the point that I'm making, is that this is a very classic, historical, kind of blue-collar community in Detroit. And back in the day, like I said, 1936 FWA or FWA. I'm thinking about flexible work
WPA.
arrangements. Say that again.
WPA.
Yeah.
Progress.
Works project, right? Yeah. From 1936, FDR, and a lot of the matches that used to happen here back in the day, were people who were working in the factories, get out of the factories, and a lot of the teams I think that played actually were coming out of the factories too.
Waves of immigrants.
Germans,
Bohemians, then Poles, and now all kinds
Poles.
of different.
Yeah, a lot of, like I was saying earlier, you've got a large Yemenis population, you got a lot of Bengalis, Bengali population, and a lot of other Middle Eastern populations, as well as a lot of Eastern European populations here in Hamtramck. So this has kind of been not only an enclave of Detroit, but it's been a first stop destination for a lot of first generation immigrants to the United States of America, and it maintains that to this day. The populations just seem to change. So. And as you can see, as you walk around the corner, actually, maybe this is where I will put the sound in. As you can see, when you walk around the corner, you can start to see the lights pop up above the houses. This is kind of a very quintessential Keyworth symbol here. So when you start to see the light towers, you'll know that you're getting close to Keyworth Stadium, or what I like to call affectionately the Key. So there's a lot of different, when you come into Keyworth Stadium, there are a lot of different food trucks. As you can see over here, all these food trucks right here. And that's basically how you get your food here. There's food trucks from different local vendors, including Schrodex and Wetzel's Pretzels. What else do we have over here? We got Pablo's Tacos, I'm sorry. We got Waka, which is East African food, if I remember correctly. Yeah, East African street food. We got the Balkan House, which is more Eastern European food. We've got Simply Spanish, which is, I think this is relatively new. You got your vignettes, right, which French, and then Paradise Street Eats. That's relatively new. Oh, they got Indian tacos there, okay. And then you've got Amici's Pizza, which is another spot, local Hamtramck spot. You'll have the DJ getting down right there, and of course the City Clubhouse, which I'll take you to the City Clubhouse one day. That's one of my my places of serenity. And then over here, we're gonna have a variety of different places where you can grab drinks in these little shipping containers. You got Detroit City Distillery. You got drinks over here. You got Brew Detroit. Stroh's, big sponsor of the club as well as Stroh's. And this is all happening at Keyworth Stadium, which is also the stadium where Hamtramck Public Schools, they own this property, and we've collaborated with Hamtramck Public Schools to renovate this space. They still use it as well in different ways. I think the boys and the girls soccer play here at Keyworth, and right now they don't play football on this field anymore, like American football. They don't play anymore, but they used to. All right, so I'll keep on walking you around the venue, see if I can find a good spot where you can see things a little bit differently. There's a lot going on. Today, as we play Phoenix, we're actually going to have, this is going to be a national broadcast on CBS Sports. So we were one of the clubs that the league had picked to be a part of that. So let me show you this too here. This is the back end of, let me think, that's south, that's the this is north. So these are the East Grandstands, and this is behind the East Grandstands right here. You've got your porta potties and everything, but you also have little shipping containers back here where you can actually get some drinks as well, and there's a few spots where you can get some food as well. So I'll keep on taking you back here. And actually, at one point in time, this whole area right here, all this area right here, this walkway right here, didn't used to have cement. A couple years ago, this whole space right here, all this right here, wasn't even cemented. This was all dirt, and so you got like this whole little river. Every time we would have days like today when there was a lot of rain, this would basically be a whole river right in front of all these porta potties. It was a mess. And then, in addition to that, back here, you also have like a merch tent right here.
Hey, what's up, my guy?
What's going on? Good. For Detroit, for the Northern Guard supporters, which is the largest supporter group for Detroit City FC. You can also, we've got some shipping containers back here where you can get your beer and your cocktails and your mixed drinks and things like that. How you doing, sir? Doing good? Good. And we still have some food back there as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a drink real quick, and then I'll check in with you when I get in the stands and show you the view from there. I haven't even enjoyed my donable yet, and we're up 1-0 now after a Ben Morris goal. Well, y'all, just got back home from the match. Detroit City FC ended up tying Phoenix Rising 1-1. Phoenix being the defending champions, but certainly they're not a club that plays like the defending champions. And so we should have won tonight's match, but we didn't. But 1-1, whatever. And the fellas get an opportunity. I think there's like a 10-day break going on. And so they have a much-needed rest ahead of them. And, yeah, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that little piece of Detroit City FC. I could have shared with you a lot more, but at the end of the day, going to Keyworth in a home match for Detroit City FC, it's one of those things that I can only verbalize and show you videos and pictures of so much. You have to be in the presence at Keyworth Stadium to actually experience the beauty of what it is with this club. And yeah, it is what it is. So anyway, well, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Riding with Red. This was just a little piece of my life, to share with you. Detroit City FC, like I said to you earlier, that truly has been a labor of love over the last 10 years. And it's not even so much about soccer at all. You know what I mean? It's being in that environment, and, you have an opportunity of, 6,000, 7,000 people gathering, from the community in the broader metropolitan Detroit area, and people who are coming from outside of that to enjoy this spectacle that is a men's soccer match. And certainly they also have the women's side as well that is, slowly gaining popularity as well. It's dope. It's dope. You know what I mean? And I think that one of the reasons why I really enjoy this is that, it's a space where you are able to gather a lot of people in the same space that have at least some level of common cause, and you get to consider what are the possibilities with gathering all these people in the same space, and what is the beauty that can come of it. There's a lot of people who I've been blessed to be connected with through this club that have come together and have done beautiful things for various communities that are connected to the soccer club. And I think about that a lot. I think about that a lot. I think about, for me, like I said, one of the things that connected me to the club was the three pieces, right? Was the love of Detroit, community building, and soccer, and I think more than anything was the community building. And the reason why that means so much to me is, it's a core tenet of my faith, thinking about what we can do to be a good steward with the influence that we have. And when you have a club like that, where you're able to gather so many people in the same space, people meet one another, and bright minds begin to connect and create some level of synergy that, kind of hate that word, to be honest with you. Synergy, I hear it so much. I work in higher ed, so I hear synergy all the time. But you get the point. There's just something that can often come together very organically, and people can do a lot of good things. I could go on and on about the beautiful things that we've been able to do within that club, and to me, it ultimately boils down to, within my faith, the most important commandments within the Christian faith are to love God with everything that you have and love your neighbor as yourself. And when you're able to gather all of your neighbors, not all, but a significant amount of neighbors that are in your immediate environment, that you can begin to learn from one another. And for me, it gives me the opportunity to show people the love of Christ, So that doesn't mean that we always agree on everything, right? That club has a lot of supporters that have various political leanings and various perspectives on faith, or whether they have it at all, in terms of religion. And that's cool, you know what I mean? In the sense that, like, we can all gather in the same space and be peaceful with one another. But for me, you know, it gives me the opportunity as a follower of Christ to show people the love of Christ in my own way, you know. And yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been not even pretty cool. It's like, it's dope. It's dope. I ain't gonna lie, it's dope. You know, so it's just something that I've enjoyed, and I look forward to showing you other pieces of my life. And you know, that's just one of the many little pieces of beauty that I've seen in this world, that God's creation has come together to build, and has created a lot of beauty, and has the opportunity to create even more beautiful things. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Riding with Red, and I look forward to you joining me next time. Take care. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to.
I'm grateful for the Lord and all the love that He gives. Hollow beats slipped this rhythm in my system in a time when my mind was hitting limits. Had to pivot, realign, had me spinning for a minute. I ain't winning, I'll be fine getting in it. See me thinning, got me sinning to unwind, and I was talking.